blowing shofar, we discussed that women don't have an obligation to hear shofar. When you have a mitzvah, you hear shofar, you get a mitzvah. And we explained that if a man already heard shofar and he's blowing just for women, he's blowing again, he already heard, so he can't say the brachas on the blowing of the shofar. The brachas have to be said by the women. It's a lot of women. One woman can say for all the women, but the man cannot say the brachas. This year, is it working, the air condition? Yeah?
Is
It feels so
hot?
hot.
You can turn it up.
Feels very hot. Maybe because it's working. Huh? It is working? It's coming out? Okay. This year, because the Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, first day of Hashanah is on Shabbos, we do not blow shofar on Shabbos. Simple reason is the Chacham prohibited us from blowing shofar on Shabbos. The concern, a person might come to carry the shofar. And it goes deeper that because of Shabbos, we don't need the shofar. Whatever could be accomplished by shofar is going to be accomplished through the Shabbos. Yes.
Is a shofar not considered a musical instrument? Like, I understand that reasoning, but why is it also not because you're not like musical?
Saying why I was saying they made a decree, it should be prohibited because it's a musical instrument, right?
Yeah.
Because according to the Torah, you're supposed to blow a shofar. Chacham, our sages did prohibit musical instruments, but being that it's a mitzvah, they wouldn't prohibit us from using this shofar because min ha-Torah there's a mitzvah to blow shofar. Okay. So they wouldn't come along and say, oh, this instrument, we're not going to let you use it. But because they're concerned, they have a serious concern, you might come to transgress Shabbos and come to carry it, that's why they prohibit it. And that's why on Yom Tov you do blow shofar, right? Obviously. You don't use musical instruments on Yom Tov too. It's a mitzvah to blow. This is just a rabbinic prohibition that we don't use musical. How come we can't use musical instruments? Our sages prohibited because something might break, you might come to fix it. So when there's such a special mitzvah, they didn't prohibit it. But we talk about a concern. There was a more serious concern that you might come to carry on Shabbos, that they were concerned. Also, it's connected to the mitzvah itself. The concern was that a person might not, has to hear shofar. He has a shofar. He doesn't know how to use it. So where does he go? Okay, let me go bring my shofar to someone and he'll come to carry it. So the concern was about, as a result of the performing the mitzvah itself, and that's why they prohibited it. Yeah. Okay. And Tashlich, that we usually go to Tashlich on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. So this year we don't go to Tashlich on the first day of Rosh Hashanah because it's Shabbos, and we go the second day of Rosh Hashanah. We go on Sunday. How come we don't go on usually go on the first day? But if it's on Shabbos, you don't. Why? Why if it's Shabbos, you don't go? Anyone knows the reason? Yeah? Because you can't carry your machzor. Okay. You're not supposed to feed.
No, you just need to go.
You're not allowed to feed animals regardless whether it's Shabbos, Yom Tov.
Because you can't
carry your machzor. No, there's no tach. No.
Because maybe you have to travel a really long distance or something.
Or walking out of the tchum.
Yeah.
No, but it's within the city limits.
You cannot
The concern, what you said was correct, because you might come to carry it. You might come to carry your machzor. How do you do tashlach? You need a machzor. You might come to carry it. Even though you're in a place where you're allowed to carry, let's say you're in a place where there's a proper edav and you're allowed to carry. Chacham said, let's make it the same for everyone. No tashlich, because if you're going to go to tashlich, you might end up carrying. So they said there's no tashlich on the first day of Rosh Hashanah to make sure that it doesn't lead to carrying. Once you're allowed to go to Tashlich on the first day, and they're going to say, well, Tashlich on the first day, but you're not allowed to carry your machzor. So, but if in the place where you're allowed to carry, then you will do. Some will, some don't, and then people are going to see people saying Tashlich. They're going to get confused, and they'll come to carry. He said, there's no Tashlich on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. If it's on Shabbos, and everyone does Tashlich on the second day. Okay? If it's on Shabbos, because you might come to carry, right? Okay, you already said, yeah.
At what point on the second day do we do Tashlich? When?
After Mincha, right? That's it. Tashlich is after Mincha. So whether it's on the first day or the second day, it's after Mincha. Okay. We already said you're not allowed to feed animals unless the animals are privately owned. The animals are privately owned. Obviously, you're allowed to feed them. But if it's not privately owned, you're not allowed to feed them. Yeah.
It's not a stupid question. Like when you're feeding them with Tashlich, you're kind of giving them a sin. That's not sin feeding them in abstract way. Like, isn't that like a what? No, I don't know. Like in a way, you're kind of giving your sins to them, right? Like
So is your question that you're feeding them regardless because you're giving them your sins?
yeah,
Is that what you're asking?
that might be stupid, but like like.
This thing is a stupid question. The question is a question. But the point is the prohibition of feeding animals is when you're actually feeding them. Chacham didn't want you to be matzliach, to exert yourself for no reason when it's not necessary. Animals that aren't privately owned figure out their own way to get food. So there's no need for you to feed them, and they don't want on Shabbos. You should be matzliach, you should exert yourself for something that's not necessary. So they said you can't feed animals. So it's only when you're actually feeding them.
So, for example, like if like someone in the neighborhood has a fish pond, is that allowed? They go there for Tashlich? Yeah, there's a thing like Israel that has to drink.
You mean, is it okay to feed the fish? That's what you're asking. Yeah, if it's privately owned, then you could feed them. Yes. Yeah.
If I'm not, I don't obligate to keep the second day, right? Because
What? That's it. Let's just do the next question. Yes.
I'm not obligated because I'm from Israel, right? Like, so how I can do to sleep?
1 second. You're asking or you're saying? You're saying you're not obligated in the second day?
Yeah, no.
So let's see. How long are you here for? How long when you came here to stay for how long?
Why?
Staying for a whole year. So you're staying here. I have to double check. Probably you have to keep 2 days because you're staying here for a whole year.
I know.
You're staying here to you came here to learn here for a full year. That's your plan?
Yeah.
I have to check.
I'm gonna keep it, but like, because I'm not obligated to.
It's probably have to keep 2 days because you're here and you're here for a long amount of time. You're not just here for.
No, I'm gonna keep it. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna break the.
No, for sure. Okay. For sure, when it comes to second day of Yom Tov, anyone from Eretz Yisrael and comes here, regardless, the second day you cannot do malacha. In other words, malacha like lights, driving, things, that's for sure you can do. It's not even a question. Question is in terms of observance of davening, kiddush, that's where the question comes in. And I have to look it up again. I wasn't planning to talk about it today, so I don't have all the details in my head. I there may be different opinions. So I don't want to say anything before I say something for sure.
And how, because I know like we basically when.
But 1 second, but you asked in terms of tashlich. Tashlich anyways, tashlich you'll do on the second day. Because we don't do on the first day.
So I can.
Tashlich is not an issue, whether you keep tashlich. What happens if someone didn't do tashlich in Rosh Hashanah? Let's go off for a second. If you got to do tashlich, it says you could do it till Yom Kippur. So the idea of tashlich is not strictly, tied into Rosh Hashanah specifically. So regardless if you're going to keep the second day or not, whatever you're going to do, you will do Tashlich on the second day. That's not a question. The question is, what do you do with Kiddush and davening? I think there's different opinions. That's why I always have to look it up again, because this opinion, that opinion, the whole topic of keeping 2 days for people traveling is a very heavy topic. And a lot of discussion, there's things from the Rebbe, there's opinions, and there's this. And it depends who you're traveling. If you're married and you're traveling together, and if you're, how long are you staying there, and where you're coming, and what you're doing, it's okay. But I'll try to go over the topic again.
Why does Kiddush and stuff, like, why would that change? Like, and you still.
It's a general question. Someone is traveling from Eretz Yisrael to America, and they're from Eretz Yisrael, right? So they keep 1 day. Now they're here. Okay, now they're here. But are they planning, did they move here? If someone moves here, okay, you have the status of someone who's here. But because she's moving back, what's her status? So It's not so simple. What's her status? Does she have to keep 1 day or 2 days? It's a very heavy topic.
No, but I understand that, but why would Kiddush change for her, but not Malacha?
No, Malacha, the Chacham said, you cannot, Malacha, the Chacham clearly prohibited.
Yeah.
Malacha, because you're in a place where people are not doing Malacha, so they said no one could do Malacha. Because they said very simple, we're going to do Malacha. And what's if someone sees you doing Malacha? How's it going to look to them?
Yeah.
They're going to, oh, so you'll do it in private. They don't trust it. People are going to find out, and then it's going to become a whole big thing. What's going on? The Malacha, it's not proper. When everyone is not allowed, and you're doing it, people will suspect you that you're transgressing. They won't. So Chum said, when it comes to Malacha, you have to keep the same Malachas. Malacha is one thing. Then there is the positive commandment saying Kiddush, davening. That's different. That already has to do with what your status is.
Okay.
Is your status b'nei Yisrael, b'nei chutz la'aretz?
And it doesn't work the same way going back to, like, because when I was in Israel, and we had Rosh Hashanah, like, obviously we kept 1
Rosh
day.
Hashanah. Oh, 1 second. I made a mistake. Rosh Hashanah is always 2 days. You caught me off guard. Sorry. Okay, I stand corrected.
Sukkot, I mean,
Rosh Hashanah, my whole conversation now is not about Rosh Hashanah. I'm used to always the question with 2 days. It always comes up. Rosh Hashanah is always 2 days. I'm sorry. The question is about Sukkot. Rosh Hashanah is always 2 days. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm having questions about Sukkot, but the same doesn't apply to Sukkot because, like, you can do Malacha second day.
Right. Whatever I was saying, the whole discussion when I was mentioning about
Right.
the question, it applied to Sukkot,
Yes.
Pesach, Shavuos, Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah. Okay, not about Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
Okay.
But you
got
can
it
do Malacha.
clear?
No, I know that. I just
Yeah.
generally like.
Okay, I made it sound like there's a question about the second day, Rosh Hashanah. Make it clear, there's no question. Keep 2 days, davening, everything. There's no question here. Okay, yeah?
But second day, if you don't keep, and when you go to Eretz Yisrael, then you can do Malacha. Is that just because people understand that?
It's not so simple. That's also a heavy topic. If someone is going to Eretz Yisrael, and then the question is, do they keep 1 day or 2 days?
Chabad,
There's no clear Chabad meaning. There's different opinions of different Rabbanim. It's very controversial to keep 1 day. If they keep 1 day, if they keep. There are some opinions who say, okay, generally it's either 1 day or 2 days, and that's it. There's nothing in between. There are some that will say, okay, you're going to keep 1 day, but the second day you're going to be strict and not do Malacha. But essentially, you're gonna. It's like 1 day. You're gonna act like the people of Israel. You're gonna keep 1 day. But because we're talking about malacha, which is more serious, transgressing, they're gonna tell you when it comes to malacha, be strict. So it's more of a stringency, not like what we spoke before with halacha.
Okay.
They can tell you, be strict, don't do malacha, because there are reasons to say you should keep 2 days, but really, practically, it's going to be 1 day. But in terms of malacha, they'll tell you to be strict. Many times my father will say to the second day, people go to, depending on the circumstances, they'll tell them, okay, the second day, it's really 1 day, but the second day, don't do malacha. But otherwise, it's really 1 day. So the second day, they'll do everything. They'll daven a regular daven, not that, not do everything. They'll daven regular davening. They won't do kiddush. But malacha, they'll be strict. So that's something else. This is it's a huge topic. It's like a lot of discussion on it back and forth. It's, yeah.
Quick question, is it ever possible for Rosh Hashanah, like maybe do it here the 2 days, is it ever possible for it to become a 3-day Yom
Rosh Hashanah? No, why?
No,
No.
I'm just curious. I don't know, because Shavuos sometimes can be 3 days, but I don't know.
How could Shavuos be 3 days?
2 days Yom Tov and then Shabbos. It's like a 3-day Yom Tov period. You can't do a lot.
Shavuos cannot be Thursday, Friday. Rosh Hashanah, no. The way the calendar is set up, Shavuos can never be Thursday, Friday.
That's those Pesach.
Pesach could be Thursday, Friday. Shavuos cannot. Rosh Hashanah could be Thursday, Friday.
So meaning like, no, I mean like, could it be?
It's not called
And
a
then the
3
days-
day. I mean, people call it. It's a term people use. It's.
Yeah,
I mean, Rosh Hashanah could be Thursday, Friday, and then Shabbos.
okay, it can.
It could, yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah, it could. Only days in Shoshana cannot fall. There's a rule. It works like this. The rule is, boy, I'll do, write it down if you want, and you can memorize it, and then you'll have it for life. And that is, Loi Adu Rosh. Rosh refers to Rosh Hashanah, right? Loi means not. Loi Adu. Adu cannot be Rosh. What does Adu refer to? See if you know. Use your intuition. No? Aleph, Dalet, Vav. It's not a word. It's just a abbreviation. Aleph, Sunday. Dalet is Wednesday. Vav is Friday. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday can never be Rosh Hashanah. The way the calendar is set up now, Mashiach comes and we'll be keeping the calendar by the testimony of the witnesses who see the new moon be different. But right now, the way that they set up the calendar, it's set up in such a way for different reasons, which I'm not going into now, that Rosh Hashanah can never be Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, when we say Rosh Hashanah, right, you got it. When we say Rosh Hashanah cannot be these days, we mean the first day of Rosh Hashanah. The first of Rosh Hashanah can never be Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. You look, never. Never Rosh Hashanah, Friday, Shabbos. What's your thing? You never have it. Okay. There's rules for every Yom Tov, which days it cannot come out on, but I'm not going to go into. Erev Rosh Hashanah could be.
Can be on Friday. Now it's on Friday.
Erev Rosh Hashanah, yeah. But the first Rosh Hashanah can never be Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. That's the thing. And once you know this, the same thing is also for Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres. Sukkot is exactly 2 weeks later. Shmini Atzeres is a week later. So it's the same rule, that the first day of Sukkot can never be, Shmini Atzeres will never be any of these days. Do you ever remember having Simchas Torah on Shabbos? No such a thing. We had Simchas Torah. Oh, you can't bring the kids to Shul on Simchas Torah. No such a thing. Simchas Torah can never be Shabbos because Shmini Atzeres can never be on Friday. No such a thing as Simchas Torah on Shabbos. Okay. So let's continue. So there's many reasons for Tashlich. There's many reasons why we do Tashlich. We'll go through. We'll give one reason. One of the reasons is so we should have the bracha of the fish. Fish have a very special bracha. That what they multiply very, very quickly. We want that blessing of the fish to multiply very quickly. Also, another reason. You cannot cast the evil eye on fish. No, that's something else.
They're above the water.
They're covered by the water. You can't cast the evil eye on them because they're covered by the water. So we want that no one should cast an evil eye upon us. There's many other reasons, but I want to move on because we have a lot to do.
I thought that everything that there is no evil eye if you don't believe in it or something like that.
That is correct. That is correct. So the topic of evil eye is a very broad topic, and it's sort of like it's a topic that's sort of like mystical. We don't really understand. We can't really grasp exactly what it is. So there's a lot of things that there's a lot of discussion about it. And like you're saying, that Rebbe said that there's no such thing as an evil eye if you don't believe in it. In a certain context, the Rebbe said it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't apply at all. The idea is there. In the context, maybe someone asked the Rebbe, someone was concerned, someone was afraid, or something happened. The Rebbe said, relax. But the idea, in essence, is there. There is such a concept. In other words, the idea of evil eye in itself does exist in Torah. As you see over here, this reason is Bona Shechanarach. But in a certain context, the Rebbe told the person, relax, don't get all stressed out. Maybe he was concerned about a specific evil eye in a different context. Maybe someone did something, someone said something to him, someone looked at him, whatever. So the Rebbe said, take it easy, don't take it out of proportion, But the idea is there. It's idea brought in Torah. It's part of Torah. But like anything else in Torah, you have to know how to apply it. Doesn't mean we have to go get all stressed out or nervous. We know that the Rebbe's father was very concerned about Ayin Hara with the Rebbe, which means the Rebbe's father didn't talk too much about the Rebbe when he was a child, when he was growing up. And he was such a special child. He was very careful that there shouldn't be an Ayin Hara. So he didn't like to brag and talk how special the Rebbe was. So there is such a concept. You have to know how to apply it. We can't take it, if it's out of proportion, and it's no good. And that means we're getting all stressed out about it, and then it's something that's just like, Okay, so let's move on. So the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah is called a Yom Ha'arichta. It's called one long day. Two days of Rosh Hashanah is called Yom Ha'arichta, one long day. Yom Ha'day Arichta means long. It's called one long day. What do you mean it's one long day? It means that it's different than the other Yom Tovim. All the other Yom Tovim, why do we keep 2 days? Because of Sveika, Yom. Down of the day. All the other Yom Tovim, which is Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, why do we keep 2 days? Because our ancestors kept 2 days, because they weren't sure when it's going to be the Chodesh. There's no calendar. Rosh Chodesh went according to the testimony of the witnesses who testified in the Bezin that they saw the moon last night. And people outside of Eretz Yisrael didn't know when is Rosh Chodesh. So they didn't know when is Yom Tov. So they kept 2 days of Yom Tov. And we also keep 2 days because it says in Shulchan Aruch that we have to keep the custom of our ancestors. They kept 2 days. We also keep 2 days, even though we know now when is Rosh Chodesh. We know exactly when is Yom Tov, because they kept 2 days, because they weren't sure when is Yom Tov, because they didn't know when is Rosh Chodesh. So Shulchan Aruch says we also outside of Eretz Yisrael have to keep 2 days of Yom Tov because of what's called Sveika D'Yom, the doubt of the day. Back then they had a doubt. We have to keep minigav v'seinu b'yadeinu. We keep the custom of our ancestors. But the Rosh Hashanah was different. This that we keep 2 days of the Rosh Hashanah is not because our ancestors weren't sure which day is Rosh Hashanah, because there was actually a possibility that there will be actually 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. For a very long explanation, which we're not going into, there was actually a possibility that Bezdin will decide that there's going to be 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, which means both days will be kept for the same reason, even though it's one day, but for a specific reason, Bezdin will decide that this year is going to be 2 days Rosh Hashanah, and the Yidden didn't know about it because when did they establish Rosh Hashanah in the month of Tishrei? When did they establish Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the month, in the month of Tishrei? Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year is the beginning of the month, the same thing, right? So when they established the month, which is on Rosh Hashanah, which is also Rosh Chodesh, that's Yom Tov. Yom Tov, so I mentioned before, you can't walk out of the tchum, out of the boundaries, right? So there's no way to notify anyone when was Rosh Hashanah. So there was a possibility that Bezdin would actually establish 2 days in Rosh Hashanah, and there's a long explanation why they would do it. So there was that possibility, and because of that, all the Jews all around the world, also in Israel, kept 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, not because they weren't sure which day is going to be Rosh Hashanah, because there was a possibility that there's actually 2 days this year. It could be, they didn't know. So it wasn't because of Sveika the Yoma. They didn't keep 2 days because there was a doubt which day, is it this day or that day. But because it could be that this year is actually 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. That's why they kept 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. That's why Rosh Hashanah is different than the other Yom Tovim, which is in the category of which we call Sveika the Yoma. There's a doubt of the day. So we keep every day because we're not sure. They weren't sure, so we keep it in the same manner. But Rosh Hashanah is called the Yom Arichta, one day. There's a lot of other halachas regards to other issues, which we're not going into now. It's called the Yom Arichta, one long day, which means both days are kept for the same purpose, not because maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe doubt, no. And therefore, because it's one long day, that is why there is an opinion that says that when it comes to the Shechayanu, that we say by Kiddush and by candlelighting on the second night of Rosh Hashanah, you should not say Shechayanu when you light candles. According to one opinion, you should not say Shechayanu on the second night of Rosh Hashanah because you already said it on the first night of Rosh Hashanah. And if Rosh Hashanah is called Yom Arichta, one long day, then one opinion says it's one long day. So you already said it the first night of Rosh Hashanah, you shouldn't say the second night. There is that opinion, but that's not the halacha. The halacha is that we do say both nights. But because there's an opinion that says that we don't say it, so in order to do it in a way where we're covering both opinions, we create a situation where we anyways have to say Shechayanu, and we have a new fruit in front of us, we wear a new garment, and then we say Shechayanu on the second night, we have a mind for the new fruit of the new garment. That answered your question?
That's what I was.
Okay, good.
You can say also about new clothing.
Right, so new clothing, here's the thing. Now the question is, so do we say Shechayanu on new clothing? So I just mentioned that in order to to do it in a way where you're covering both opinions, you put on a new garment, so you anyways have to say Shechayanu, but now for sure you could say Shechayanu. But the question you're asking is, do we say Shechayanu on new clothing? Sure, a lot of you don't remember ever saying Shechayanu on new clothing. So what are we saying over here? So the answer is like this. So let's discuss new clothing in itself, okay? Do you say Shechayanu clothing? Well, someone's going to tell you, like you're saying no, and is that correct? Is the answer really no?
Well, it's not.
Yes, the answer is yes or no.
We don't anymore.
It depends how
Right.
much you buy.
It depends on the situation, meaning it's not black and white. In other words, really, the way it used to be is new clothing was very exciting. The old days, people lived in poverty, and a new garment was very exciting. So they got a new garment at not just a new regular day garment, just something very special, the Shabbos and Yom Tov, that they rarely got, and they're very excited about it, have to say Shechianu. But because these days people buy clothing all the time, so new clothing is not necessarily as exciting as it used to be. And therefore, this creates a certain doubt, should you say Shechianu on new clothing these days? And that's why you don't remember saying Shechianu when you buy new clothing, because when there's a doubt, you don't say a bracha. You don't say Shechianu. But it's not that for sure you don't say Shechianu. It is a doubt. You don't know, so you don't say. But it's not for sure. You don't have to. When we come to the second night of Rosh Hashanah, where according to Halacha, you do say Shechianu when you light candles, regardless if you have a new fruit or new garment. The Halacha is you should say. But there's an opinion that says, no, you don't. So we say, hey, let's try to get along with all the opinions. It's better to do things that cover all opinions. So we say, okay, let's create a situation where you anyways have to say Shechianu. Let's do the best we could. Well, a new fruit is Shechianu. A new garment possibly is also Shechianu. So a new garment helps out the situation. It's better than before. It's better than not putting on a new garment where one opinion says you don't say Shechianu. So the new garment is only benefits you. So even if you're going to say, well, it's not 1,000%, okay. And if not, you anyways halachically have to say Shechianu regardless if you have a new garment or not. Now, you might argue that a new fruit might be preferable because a new fruit we do say Shechianu, and a new garment, if it's not as exciting, not necessarily, but really, you can make that judgment yourself. I mean, if you bought something special for Yom Tov and you're really excited about it, it's something really nice. Why should you not say Shechianu on it? It's reasonable to say that it should be Shechianu. If you feel that, so fine, use a new fruit. I'm not saying the options are brought in Shulchan Aruch, new garment, new fruit. It's possible that for many people, the new fruit is optimal because a new fruit, for sure, Shechianu, a new garment. So that judgment, I leave up to you. You have to, you decide. If you feel very excited about it, you feel this is, what do you mean? It's very, very excited about this garment, the new garment. And then you're not going to put it on till the second night. Do you want to wait a whole day till you put on when you brought for Yom Tov? You might not want to wait a whole day. So you buy two. If you buy two of the same, then you're not so excited about the second one. So you're going to say, if they're for sure, it creates a doubt on the Shechianu.
Okay, so it's better when you.
I'm not saying for sure. There's reason to say that it's better. But generally, people use a new fruit. And that's probably the reason. Because a new fruit, Shechianu, a new garment. But I'm saying, if you're excited about the new garment, if you feel very excited about it, and you're not going to put it on, you have to wait to put it on until the second night before candle lighting. And you can, why not?
And then it's candlelight in any dress, so it's like cover both opinions, right?
When you say Shechianu, when you light candles, you have in mind for the Yom Tov and for the new garment, for both. Yeah.
I have actually two questions. The first question is, do you know about how long it's been since we changed it, like not saying Shechianu on the clothes?
Exactly when it started, which year? No. I can't tell you that. Exactly which year
So I
that.
was wondering if it would be like similar to the Industrial Revolution, because I feel like that would make sense.
Yeah, but what relevance would it have anyways? I'm just asking a hypothetical question. Hypothetically asking, yeah, I don't know.
The question is what's the lack of what's considered a new fruit? Because it's like fruit fest of the season, but it's like what if you had it like a smoothie or something like last week? Like does that count as new fruit?
I mean, if they took the new fruit and they crushed it into a smoothie.
No, like if it was like preserved or something like that. Where,
If it's preserved, then it's not in the new season.
it's not counted.
It has to do with the new season.
Okay, so it has
If it's from the new season, it gets a little complicated sometimes. But if it's from the new season,
But like, if you had
basically
the
it comes up, huh?
same- Like if you had the same food last week, because like it was imported or something like that, it would be okay.
If you just had the same fruit last week, so you already had it, you can't say Shechianu.
Yeah, but if it's not from the same week, like it's like.
But if it's from a different-
different place. or something like
You mean last week you had from one place?
Yeah.
The next week you had from a different place?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be, like it would be 2 different seasons of fruit, like.
Yeah,
I remember
it's-
I have mangoes, right? Because we always have mangoes just off of Hashanah, but like it's possible to get mangoes imported from other places.
I'm not sure. The Shechianu topic is also a very complicated topic. It's like a topic for itself where it's like there's a lot of parts aren't clear. I don't know. I'm not sure what to tell you. It could be questionable. I mean, practically, you would know where it came from.
Like,
In other words, let's say they tell
You
you,
know, it wouldn't be from like the local places.
but if you just had one last week and I have one again, so chances are that it's the same, that it's from
Maybe
the
not like last week, but
from the same one, huh?
yeah, like maybe not last week, but like kind of just.
There's reasons if it's from a different place, let's say from a few weeks ago, from one country, and a few weeks later from another country, different season, this probably would be Shechianu. I have to, this probably would be. I have to check about it. Any other questions? Rabbi? Yeah? Okay, so just one more detail regarding the Shechianu. So basically, the second night, you put the new fruit in front of you. When you light candles, you have in mind for the new fruit, but now you can't eat from it. Usually, you say Shechianu fruit, you eat from it. You're not going to eat from it because what?
Because you can eat.
Before Kiddush.
Yeah.
You didn't have Kiddush yet. So now, right? So that's why it's better, preferable, not obligated. It's preferable to light candles as close as possible to Kiddush. If you could, only if you're able to, it's better to light close to Kiddush. And after Kiddush, the one who says Kiddush is going to say Shechianu. He's going to have new fruit. And you should also have new fruit because you already said Shechianu on it. Don't say Shechianu again on it. You're going to eat from the new fruit that you already said Shechianu by candlelight. Yeah. The latest time
Yeah,
is see on the calendar. You have to wait till it's dark.
so just like, yeah, like.
What do you mean the latest? You have to wait until it's dark to light candles. The second night. It's going to be Matzah Shabbos this year. Yeah, there's on the calendar. It's going to tell you exactly when to. You're going to light when it comes. Actually, asking. You're going to light when it comes to time.
Yeah, but I'm asking is like how much can you change when you like candles? Like,
Well, when it comes to time to light, then you're allowed to light. But now you know Kiddush is not going to be till another half an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it's ideal. I'm not saying practically. Sometimes it becomes difficult. Here's Shai for now. Saying is, let's say the time to light. You can light candles as soon as it gets dark in Rosh Hashanah. You can light candles, right?
it's like the new day.
Right. Now, before you light candles, you have to say Baruch Hamavda L'Kodesh L'Kodesh. L'Kodesh L'Kodesh. L'Kodesh. You have done yet, and you just finish Shabbos. Say Baruch Hamavda L'Kodesh L'Kodesh. Then you can light candles. Now, you could light right away, but being that Kiddush is not going to be, let's say, another half an hour, it's better if you can wait. Then you
You're
can wait,
allowed to wait, like,
why not? Or you're thinking you have to do it right away.
yeah, like,
No, but
you wanna
there's
keep
there's a reason why you're waiting.
Yeah.
If you're able to, in most cases, it doesn't work practically because there's so much to get done and you just like, everyone's gonna wait till the last minute, then the person comes to the Kiddush and everything like cans yet. I'm saying you have to see if it fits into the routine of wherever you are, but it is preferable to wait to cross the Kiddush. Okay? Good, everyone. Tomorrow.
Thank you.